Hello, I am here at the Rocky Mountain Homeschool Conference. I want to tell you what has kind of caught me off guard, overwhelmed me, and why I don't normally talk about homeschooling. They have this really cool water feature here, but it's kind of noisy, so let's go see if we can find a quiet place to visit. All right, I think we found the spot. Okay, so I want to share with you what has really caught me off guard this trip in a really good but kind of overwhelming way. I'll tell you why I don't talk about homeschooling, even though I am at a homeschooling conference. And also, if you're curious about what I packed, how I packed, there's often questions that come up about that. We can head up to the room and I'll show you that as well. Diana's actually with me and she is resting right now. She just hit 20 weeks pregnant, so she got to come with and we've had a good time together. And I can tell you a little bit about like what my sessions have been about too, if you're interested. So I'll put timestamps here, so if you want to skip it around at all, you're totally welcome. So here's what has completely caught me off guard this trip. I don't do a lot of traveling, speaking. You've probably seen that, like I don't. You know, for a long time, the kids were really little, and with COVID, like there just wasn't these things going on. So it's only been recently that I've been getting invitations. Also, I'm kind of an introvert. Well, I am an introvert. So often too, I'm like, that's just too many people. It sounds overwhelming. But I'm like, no, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do this. And two things that happened. One, the number of women that have come up to me afterwards and said, you don't understand, like this message changes everything. And especially if you're a homeschooling mom, you have all your regular inventory, and then on top of it, you have homeschooling inventory, right? And so it is so much to manage, and it can often just feel like it's just, everything's always a mess all the time because everyone's home and there's no point in picking it up, right? And so to have these women come up and say like, you don't understand how this has changed my home, I think it still surprises me because I still often think, this isn't right, but I still often think like, oh, I thought I was the only one that was ultra messy and needed to get rid of the bulk of my possessions so that I had a chance of staying on top of it. Like I really still often feel like I'm the only one that was super messy, and that even I don't even love sharing about it still sometimes because I realize that there is still shame like involved with that. And so to hear other women say, no, that was me too, or no, this has helped so much, I think it's been really cool and encouraging. And often I'm like, well, it's not me. Like I'm just the messenger, right? Like I haven't done anything. But something that multiple women have mentioned is that they're like, what I appreciate about you, and again, this is kind of hard for me to even talk about, but I hope is that it benefits you. They're like, what I appreciate about you is that you'll share when you make mistakes and then you'll move on and you don't beat yourself up over it. You have grace with your kids and the things they do. And I was like, wow, I was talking with Diana about it. And I'm like, that is true. I have noticed that like with all the women that I get to work with now, you're often really hard on yourself. Too hard on yourself. In the grand scheme of physical possessions and accidentally decluttering something you might need, or wishing you had found this sooner, having kids that are grown and being like, I was such a bad mom because I didn't simplify our house sooner, you're probably being too hard on yourself. And a gal even asked one of the questions, we do Q&A at the end of each session, and she's like, but what if there's something you regret getting rid of? You know, like you really feel bad about it and it was sentimental, like you can't just go get another one. And I said, can you forgive yourself? Can we forgive you? Can we say, it's okay, you did the best you could with the information that you had in the time? So today, if you need to hear that, like you're forgiven, it's okay. We all make mistakes and we couldn't have known, like we can't see into the future and know exactly what we're gonna need in the future and not. So we just make the best decision we can with the information that we have right now. But wouldn't it be so cool to be one of the people coming up being like, this changed everything. I've gotten my house decluttered. It feels so good. Like to me, that's worth it more than the potential mistakes that we could make. The bigger mistake in my eyes would be to not get your house simplified and decluttered because the benefits are so good and so awesome. Okay, so that was one thing. Why don't we head outside quick because I saw something outside that made me kind of homesick. So let's go look at that quick and then we'll come back and keep visiting. So Diana and I were walking back from dinner last night and I was like, what? There are people camping here. I'm like, I didn't know we could camp. And isn't it funny when you get to the point where you're like, I'd rather be in a camper than a hotel room. Isn't that funny? So today's video is sponsored by rvmattress.com. I have to tell you, they hooked us up with mattresses for all of our campers now, but we got to take Peanut, our small camper, camping a couple weeks ago, and the kids were so thrilled with their new mattresses. So we got to put those new mattresses in the bunks, and then Tom and I have the signature hybrid mattress, and we were just remarking this last time we went camping. He's like, I have never slept so good when we've been camping. And I agree. You know, at home we have our Helix mattress, which we love, and RV Mattress is a sister company. And so they put all of the same attention and great quality into these mattresses. But of course, it's important that they're lightweight, right? We don't go overweight. So they're lightweight, but still super comfortable, and we highly recommend them. And then the kids have the 6-inch Dream Foam Essential. And that one's great because it comes in lots of different thicknesses and different sizes. Actually, they all come in all the weird sizes that are RV mattresses, but they have the Dream Foam Essential, and we just got the 6-inch because there's not a lot of headroom in the bunks. So that was perfect, but still super comfortable. They were so happy for the upgrade. They come right from their facility in Arizona to your house, rolled up in a box. Setup is so easy, and shipping in the US is included in the price of the mattress. And you get 120 nights to test it out and make sure that it's a really great fit for you too. The trucks are going by that pull the campers. I love it. That's awesome. On that, they also come with a 10-year warranty. Oh, and be on the lookout for their 4th of July sale coming up at the end of the month to get up to 30% off a mattress. And don't worry, if you're watching this after the fact, you can always visit rvmattress.com/minimalmom to get 25% off your mattress with code minimalmom. And then you're gonna sleep great on vacation too. You should sleep great on vacation, right? So upgrade your mattress so that you can sleep awesome too. All right, well, it is beautiful outside today, but why don't we head back inside? I'm telling you, once you start, I would love to know, like, if you camp, like, once it like gets in your blood, you're just like, you just want to camp everywhere you go. And I know some people don't understand it because they're like, camping is so much harder than staying in a hotel. It's like, you just don't know until you experience it. It's just hard to describe. So anyways, all right, number 2. So yesterday morning, we got to meet up with some members of our private membership group. So I just let the people know in our membership mentorship community that I was like, hey, Diane and I are gonna be in Denver. If you're able to make it to this coffee shop nearby, like, we would love to meet with you. And so 11 women were able to join us, and it was so cool. And again, it's just fun when you get together with like-minded people. I know I would love to come to your area, and I almost don't even like mentioning this because it feels a little unfair because I don't get to have coffee with you too, and I would love to do that. But the reason I want to share it is because here's what stuck out about that. So there was 11 gals, and a few of them I got to visit with one-on-one at the end, and 3 of them, of the 11, shared huge things that are going on in their lives. I mean, a husband with stage 4 cancer, a son with serious autism that makes it so that it's very hard to leave the house. And she feels like she has just been in the house for years, right? And I know many of you can relate to that. PTSD and feeling like people around you don't understand. And so I know if I created the sentence like, this is what is weighing on me, this is what's causing me to feel weary and tired and overwhelmed, like, you could fill in the blank with something that's going on in your life right now too. And I know sometimes as women, we're like, my thing isn't as big. Like, so grateful my husband doesn't have serious cancer, right? So that means the thing I'm going through isn't as big. But I was reading the book, it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it was a gentleman who actually was a psychologist in a concentration camp. And so he wrote this book about his observations of the men and women that were in the camp with him. And what was fascinating to me, there's so many fascinating things. Great book, a little heavy, so read it when you're in a mindset to like process something like that. But what he said is grief is one of the few emotions that expands to fit the space we have. And so whether you have kids that are struggling with school or behavioral things, or huge things like losing a loved one, caring for parents with illness, cancer, all of these horrible things that go on, our grief right now expands to fit that space. And so it is big and it is real in your life too. And so let's not diminish that, right? Like, I'm really sorry for what you're going through. And the other part of it though is, and kind of what we came to a consensus, the 11 of us together, was that there is so much of life that we can't control. I mean, that it is what it is, right? Like, that is part of life. so many things we can't control, but there are these pieces of the puzzle that we can, like decluttering our house. And so what if we focus on this? And not only that, what's fascinating to hear from so many is that as we do work to declutter and simplify our space, that it's actually quite therapeutic. Even the friend that was talking about PTSD said that decluttering my home has been helpful, right? Definitely, I've heard from those of you with children with ADHD and autism that they thrive in highly simplified spaces, right? And again, I don't say that to cause guilt or shame, or to say, now you have to do this. I'm just inviting you to say, okay, that puts a little more emphasis on something that we can control. And so that's important, right? But we know it's important, we know it can help, but it's also, when we have these other things going on, it can be hard to find the time and the bandwidth to declutter, because sometimes decluttering feels easy and sometimes it feels very hard. And so that's where I would encourage you, try to do 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and no more. Like, just focus on a little bit each day. And then I do believe you'll start to feel like you're creating some momentum again. But I know, I mean, many of the women there too were just kind of like, I feel like I hit a roadblock. I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so there are times too where we have to invite other people into it. And I love being your friend that you can turn to. And I love that we can do this virtually. I think it's very effective for many. And sometimes we need like a physical friend too, to invite them in, right? And to send the videos. And I hope, my hope is that this Back to Basics minimalism series is really helpful for you to share with others. And it really, I'm trying to make it like really clear and concise, and so that it makes it easier for you to share it too, so people understand, because your value for stuff has completely been shifting. And so sometimes it's hard then to bring other people along and get them caught up quickly. So you're like, no, I'm not trying to think of ways to use the old toilet paper rolls. Like, you need to tell me to get rid of them, right? Like, we're not being creative and brainstorming here. It's like, no, it needs to go. Will you help me get this stuff out of my house, right? And so there are times too where I think it's really helpful to invite people within our context into it as well. But I love that there's tons of things we can do virtually. And if you do need a little more help and you're like, yeah, it's just not cutting it, maybe like get used to it. So maybe even just for a season, I need to find a friend or a family member, or even I think kids in our house too can be really, it's been fun to hear from the moms who are like, yeah, my 10-year-old is like ruthless, right? Or my 12-year-old, we go to the store and she's like, Mom, I don't need that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like that is just the coolest thing ever, right? So bring your kids along on the journey as well. Let them know what you're learning. You know, I love when I hear that you play my videos out loud, although I do sometimes hear that your kids don't always like to hear my name. They're like, oh, what's the minimal mom gonna make me get rid of next, right? So anyways, but it's all in good fun. So, sometimes we do need to invite someone else along, but ultimately I just want to say I'm sorry. It just really hit me, just all the big things that so many are dealing with. And so I'm really sorry if you fall into that category as well. And I hope that you can find the energy to keep going decluttering, because I do think it makes a really big difference. All right, so enough of the heavy stuff. Let's head up to the room. Oh, I still have to tell you why I don't talk about homeschooling. I was here talking about decluttering. To be clear, I'll talk about decluttering all day long. Not homeschooling. Why don't we head up to the room? I'll see if Diana's up from her nap. I'm sure she would love to say hi as well. We'll talk about homeschooling, and I'll show you how I packed it too. All right, we're back in our room. I'm gonna give Diana a minute to wake up, and then we're gonna talk crumble cookies and homeschooling. But let me show you how I packed real quick. So we were gone for 3 full days, and I was able to fit everything into one packing cube. So I brought 3 outfits and wore one. I love this denim dress. It's just off of Amazon. I'll link to it. So I had 3 outfits plus the one I'm wearing right now, this top and then black jeans. And then I just had one like casual outfit that also leggings and a t-shirt. That was my pajamas, my pink windbreaker, and a pair of tennis shoes. And then I just had these shoes that I showed in my last video that so nicely go with all my outfits. And I think the reason I didn't feel like I needed to bring extra options was because that every single thing that I packed fits and I feel good in it. And you know, when you're traveling, sometimes you just feel like not your best, right? And so everything is just like super comfortable, forgiving. I knew like when I was presenting at my sessions, I wouldn't be thinking about what I was wearing or feeling like I needed to adjust it. So that was key for this trip, and being able to pack light. And so it was really nice that everything just fit into like one packing cube for my clothes and then one small one for my toiletries. I also lucked out because I knew Diana was bringing her curling iron and straightener, and so I didn't actually have to pack that stuff. So my toiletries was pretty light.
Come on, Diana.
Oh no, and some kind soul, Sarah, brought us crumble cookies. She's like, do you know what these are? I'm like, oh yes, we even have crumbs outside. Okay, so here's the question I'm gonna ask is, would you go for this peanut butter deluxe cookie or kind of just a more traditional sugar cookie?
Wow,
or the chocolate? It was
chocolate.
too much chocolate for me.
Wow.
All right, and then this is my carry-on bag, water bottle, laptop, all that stuff in here, which I really like it as well. So, all right, Diana, so who's the crumble cookie? So I'm the, well, did you guess? Like, I'm the peanut butter, second would be chocolate. The sugar cookie was too sweet for me.
When I'm pregnant, bring it on.
Bring all the
Nothing
sugar.
is too sweet. Ice cream, cookies, like, oh, that was such a nice treat. They lasted us the whole 3 days though. Like, we just kind of nibbled here and there and took our time.
I'm proud of us.
Really enjoyed it and had our little treats along the way. So
I feel like you've become a kind of minimal packer too. I don't feel like you brought as much as normal.
yeah, no, people always ask me, do I live like you?
Yeah.
And I do. I just don't broadcast it as much, but
yeah,
because I've just seen, and I know for us and little kids and everything like that, I get really proud with kids' clothing and like getting just enough to get us through the season, and then being able to toss most of it at the end.
Right.
That like really, warms my heart.
Well, and I think it's encouraging to me because you care much more about like fashion and just like you want to be look put together and cute and all that, and I'm just like, whatever, I don't actually care that much. And so I love that it's still possible to live minimally both ways, and I think we would both agree it's because everything fits and we feel good in it, right? Even if you're 20 weeks pregnant or not, right?
I know, you're like, that's a cute shirt, and I'm like, well, I have a blue one that I wear with jeans, I have a black one that I wear with these little cargo pants.
Yep.
That's kind of and I have like 2 summer dresses. That's
it.
wardrobe.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it.
I think it's good. You're doing good. All right, so the reason, I don't know if you have much to say about homeschooling. The reason I don't talk about homeschooling is because we've just finished our 3rd year and I don't feel like I still know much about it at all.
Yeah.
I also know if I recommend anything, there's a good likelihood you might go out and buy it, and I don't want you to because again, I don't really know. Here's what's tricky about it. I think those of you who are still newer to it, like me, like there's this book called Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons.
Okay.
We have totally used it to teach Gage how to read. It's been great. For Gage, it has been perfect. For 2 of our other children, it would never have worked in a million years. Adley, she kind
of taught herself.
Absolutely, right? So there's certain kids that it's like, this is great. And you know where I found it? From an influencer saying, oh my goodness, you can teach any child to read with this book. And now I want to be like, no, you can't teach any child to read with this book.
Yeah.
Because that just makes you feel like a loser as a mom then when you get the book. And so anyways, I just feel like there's so much trial and error and figuring out what works for you as the mom and each individual child.
Well, and when we were taking the Uber over here, the guy was talking to us and found out we were going to a homeschool conference, and he said, do you have a teaching background? And I wanted to be like, well, you see, and I think that leads to some of our insecurity too.
Totally,
it's like,
right?
No, but I buy the books and I try my best,
and I am fully capable of teaching.
I went to school, and so not discounting the training and talent that teachers have, but we're just kind of figuring this out, and so that's why we're like, well, I'm not going to promote this because I don't feel like I've arrived. Like so don't ask me questions about it or don't ask for tips.
And so I am speaking at a homeschooling conference talking about decluttering and inventory, right?
Which you are an expert at. We can ask you questions.
I appreciate that. It's actually been really fun. And I would say maybe only a quarter of the people had heard about us before we got here or our message. And so it's been really fun to just be like, hey, good news. You don't have to have all that stuff, right?
And you just watch it like a ripple across the room.
Yeah.
Like, really?
It's been really cool.
And writing it. Like,
yeah. And I think I know homeschooling moms are still probably going to want to keep a lot of extra inventory in homeschooling and all that. But maybe then they'll decide to keep less inventory in other areas. And that's a decision any of us get to make, right? Yeah. Like some people love crafts or to decorate for Christmas or whatever. So go for it. Keep extra inventory in those areas, but then recognize you might have to keep less inventory in other areas to still maintain your sanity. And that's totally fine.
And if you're traveling this summer, see if you can get it all in one packing cube.
Right? I do like packing cubes. It's like a challenge. Like, can you fit it on there?
Well, it's kind of a built-in container.
It is a
right?
container.
Yeah. It actually, but it's so portable. Like, we just threw them in the drawers then.
Yeah, I like that.
In the dresser here, we felt organized even when we were here.
Yeah, and with kids too. And then we would designate one for dirty laundry, and yeah, I really like those. So I can link to those as well. But I don't know, Diana, we're gonna have to head home here pretty soon. Did you feel like you got to relax a little bit?
I did. Thank you. This was a beautiful, wonderful respite. I actually am missing the kids.
Yeah.
So that means it's like I'm ready. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. I mean, I know some people always miss their kids.
No judgment here.
Okay.
No judgment. No.
We've had a lot of together time recently.
Yeah. And any new friends we've made at the conference who are maybe checking us out here, we're so glad to meet you and have some we got to meet in person or to get to visit with you on here too. We're so glad. We're glad for our old friends and our new friends. Well, and Diana, I guess too, even we were talking about it on the way here too. We're like, can you believe this is our life? Like, this is what we get to do right now? Like, we're so humbled and so grateful. And so thank you for all of your support, whether it was in person or like this. We're so grateful for you and just appreciate you so much. So, all right, well, we were actually supposed to be out of our room about 10 minutes ago. Luckily, they're being very kind to us. So we're going to head out, do one more session, and then head to the airport. And we love you. We hope you have a really great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.